Help support the channel with my merch down below, links in the description. Wait a minute, we taking a look at the Coyote, the long way. Hey guys, it's the Gundam Boy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the R-4 Hyena. And today we're going to be taking a look at this weapon's stats, capabilities, and how it fares on all the fronts. However, I'll have to start the video off and just say, what the f is this barrel design? Why does it look like it has two barrels? Also, look at how they throw the magazine on the ground, man. Otherwise, if you wanted to get this for yourself, well, you'll have to wait till the next time the devs give it around, because it came with the major order.
Oh, but Gundam Boy, you have to play!
This should not be a problem for the average player who hops on. Of course, I feel bad for those of you who couldn't hop on because you were on your trip, but if you were sitting in the corner playing Rainbow Six Siege, it is what it is. The best part about the conditions is all you have to do is stick your pinky toe in the door and you will get the reward. You only have to hop on, you don't even have to do anything. But it looks like the Marksman family's getting another addition. You're probably asking yourself though, what is this weapon's capabilities? Why does it have two barrels? Why is it so ugly? Why did Airhead knock open my fridge and steal all my food? What makes this weapon so unique compared to other marksman rifles? It has fire damage, and like its Coyote relative, it fucking blinds you when you fire. It has a damage of 220, a capacity of 15, a recoil of 54, and a fire rate of 190. It's medium armor pen and incendiary. Oh, but you guys gotta see this, because this weapon in its base form has 21 Ergo, god damn! In regards to its attachments, it has a lot of scope varieties, including the 2x and the 4x scope. But in regards to its underbarrel, it is quite lacking, and it only has a laser and flashlight. But if you want to cut a massive port of that ergonomics, you have a short mag option. Not gonna lie, when I first got the Hyena, it felt like I was turning an entire battleship to broadside the enemy. With all these attachments on it, it's one of those weapons where you'll have to take your time with aiming. Taking a look at this weapon's durable damage, it does have a damage of 45. In terms of its performance, it's very similar to the DCS Counter Sniper. It just doesn't have that fire. Actually, this kinda reminds me of the Counter Sniper before it got all the Ergo buffs. But why don't we talk about this weapon's main gimmick? Incendiary bullet is very nice as it will roast targets, but we do have to keep in mind that a certain weapon may have gotten these fire damages adjusted. Not all enemies are as easy to light on fire like it was back then. All enemies will have a resistance against fire, which means some of them will take more bullet to light them on fire. The warrior bug might light on fire in one shot, but for enemies like your mom, it might take 3 rounds, which means you sometimes will light the enemy on fire, which is a little unfortunate considering how low the ammo is in this weapon. You think it would light on fire in one? Like the Berserker takes 2 shots to light on fire, then it takes another one to put them down. But if the Hyena feels too fat to use, well, there is a good loadout to make it feel a lot better. After a healthy dose of Ozempic and stripping down the gun to its bare parts, we can get its Ergo down all the way to 40 or even 41 if you use a smaller scope. I personally removed the muzzle brake because it's a marksman rifle and I don't plan on firing it very fast. This does allow for more fluid control over your weapon. Outside of the ergonomics of this weapon being a pretty big flaw until you build it into a smaller twinkish build, most incendiary weapons have been pretty good chaff counters. However, the Hyena takes that in the completely different direction. I'm just saying it's not going to be the best weapon for holding off the hordes of chaff, but it is better at being a mid-chaff killer. The overall playstyle of this weapon is going to be at a mid-range support. Because of this weapon's overall capabilities, you will be focusing on mostly the medium chaff units, or enemy units that might be problem targets. You can try and slug it out with them in close ranges, I just wouldn't recommend it because your gun's so slow, so be sure to bring a counter for lighter chaff units, because the overall design of this weapon is not built to keep up with massive horde situations. Which is fortunate for me because I always got that fang on me. Utilizing this weapon at long ranges shouldn't be a problem for the Hyena, as it does have a very high velocity. At 613 meters, you still get a pretty precise bullet, even though I don't think most enemies render at this distance anyways, but hey, guess what, it can do it. I don't think this is really a weapon you can afford feathering fire damage with. You should probably just keep firing it and mag dump every bullet into the bigger enemy unit until they're dead. And for certain factions like the automatons, it might be pointless to try to do it anyways, because you can just very easily go for a headshot and put them down. But finally, I would also recommend you have either a supply pack or some way to get ammo very easily, because you're going to run through a large portion of your mags. Bring a marksman rifle to the horde shooter, they said! It'd be fun if they said! Now, let's talk about how it performs on all the fronts. Starting off with the bots. Playing on the automaton front, you'll find that this weapon basically feels like a diligence or any other marksman rifle. Landing a headshot's gonna murder most of the enemy units you'll face off with. I don't think you need me to tell you that a bot trooper dies in one shot, but it is fun turning them into a temporary star. But don't expect your fire damage to be of use here if you're going for precision shots. The only time you'll actually get the benefit from the fire damage is when you're going for chest shots or non-insta kills. which should be easy. Just pretend you're trying to shoot an overseer with an adjudicator and you'll really get to use that fire damage. Utilize this weapon to long to mid-range and you'll have no problem sniping all the enemies on the bot front. I will have to acknowledge, it's a fun marksman rifle on the bot front, but I really can't lie when I say, why can't you just use Diligence Counter Sniper? They do the same stuff. You don't really get the benefit of the fire damage here. Bot precision weak points are just way better and you'd be wasting ammo if you're going for chest shots. Is it a fun weapon to use here? Absolutely. Is it repetitive? Absolutely. If you're trying to maximize the overall use of this weapon, well, yeah, it's going to feel exactly the same to other weapons we have. Overall, not a bad option for the bot front, but I can definitely assure you anything in the marksman family can do what this guy can do on the bot front. Moving on to the Illuminate front, where it fares alright, but you do have to keep in mind that their whole gimmick is being a giant zombie horde. Marksman rifles aren't exactly happy here. You don't get to feel the benefit of Incendiary when you can one-shot things like a Boatless. Now, going up against the Flesh Mobs, it can do a pretty hefty chunk of damage with that fire, and it should take around 2 mags to kill a Flesh Mob. Not an impressive Flesh Mob counter, but it is able to wither it down enough so that you can one-mag it with the Redeemer. Out of pure curiosity, I tried to see how much damage it would take to kill something like a Flesh Mob by just feathering the fire damage, but I would have to say that's 20 seconds of my life that I'm not going to be getting back. Going up against the Overseer, it will take 2 shots to nail him in that head. As you can see, I messed up all those shots and had to kill him with fire damage. So here's an actual clip of me being good at the game and taking him down in 2. Elevated Overseers should be just 1 shot to put them down, but if you aren't going for headshots, the fire damage should soften them up enough, allowing you to melt them away with all that delicious fire damage. But you gotta love killing Overseers when they just stand like an idiot. And because of that medium pent, it does allow you to face off with things like Harvesters. Consistently landing shots on that hip joint should be enough to take it down around 2 mags. On the Illuminate front, I don't think the Hyena is as necessary, especially because you need to focus on way more anti-chaff capabilities. It's a great option for picking off enemy units, just don't get tunnel vision or they might sneak up on you. And lastly, we have the bugs, which I'll have to say is probably the worst place you could take this weapon to. There's just too many bugs! The bugs are the epitome of chaff nightmare. It is capable of one-shotting things like warriors with that fire damage finishing them off. If you're only relying on the Hyena for killing chaff, you're going to be mobbed. The sheer numbers of bugs that will be rushing you down when you're using this weapon, well, you might as well just bring the Coyote. This is not a weapon you can advance with. This is only a weapon you can use from afar. It is a great counter for taking out Alpha Commanders in 3 shots, but it's not fast enough to drop them before they can call in a little bug group. Annihilates chaff units, but when you're getting swarmed, you're getting swarmed. While it is a better higher chaff slayer, it's not going to be the best for dealing with them on the bug front because Alpha Commanders and Biospears are a dime a dozen. The Marksman Rifle is just out of its element on the bug front and needs to be supported by a lot of anti-chaff weapons if you really want to hold them off. But you're not at a total loss, as you can still utilize things like Jump Pack to give you the high ground to play a more long-range support role. But overall, I would just not recommend using a Marksman Rifle on the bug front in general. There's just so much shit. I do like the R-4 Hyena, but I don't think I'm really liking it for its own identity. I think I like it more because it feels like the counter sniper. There are some concerns that I do have with this weapon, and it's its obese ergonomics. So let me just tell you, the magazine over here is so fat that it minuses 11 ergonomics, just for 5 bullets, which I have to say, that's a bit of a sacrifice for just a bit of aiming capabilities, especially if you want to account for the other attachments like muzzles. You can really drop this weapon's ergo down. If they want to keep this weapon as fat as it is, then this thing should absolutely light enemies on fire with 1 bullet. I mean, it's a marksman rifle with 15 rounds at max. Otherwise, I'd have to say this weapon's in a pretty strange place in terms of combat. For example, on the bot front, it's probably more ideal to use the R-4 Hyena here. It has a lot of sniping capabilities, but is it really that different from the counter snipers or any other marksman rifles? In most cases, you don't actually get to use the fire if you're going for headshots. And both the bugs and the Illuminate will absolutely mob you if you don't bring a counter chaff option. So I would have to say this weapon is pretty constricted. It's not a bad option, but it's more like a side grade. But that's the end of the video. What do you guys personally think about the R-4 Hyena? Was this worth the major order fight, or should we get something better? Otherwise, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hype that video so you guys can see more of my videos in the future. Bye-bye!